Hello and welcome back to Pylon podcast. My name is Brett Landmeyer. Alongside with me,
Kevin Brigham.
what was that?
I was about to start talking, and then you kept talking, so I was like, "Oh shit!" I had to pause for a second, and I was like, "Oh, okay, now go." But
All right. Whatever. We'll
all
move on.
good, all good. You guys know us by now.
Yeah. Uh, so tonight was a big night in Chicago, and I kind of wanted to just talk about it. Game 4 of the Crosstown Classic between the Cubs and the White Sox. Um, Little backstory: Kevin and I both work or have worked for the Cubs. Currently, I work on the grounds crew for the Cubs, but if you can see by the shirt, I am a White Sox fan. So, series is kind of conflicting for me because the White Sox season is done, and the Cubs are obviously like the team I work for, and so like I have allegiances to both of them. And so this loss tonight was bittersweet, to say the least. But
I thought you had moved on. I remember you being in a free agency period for a little bit.
so I was a little upset at the beginning of the season with how things were playing out, and I did want to leave, but I went and saw them play back in June, I believe. And, once you just see your boys again, like all the pain kind of goes away for a second. And they even got a dub that day. So it did kind of bring me back. And like, regardless, like I wouldn't want to see a team win the World Series more than the White Sox personally. But the
That's
Cubs
fair.
are the Cubs are a second on that list, definitely. So yeah, just a little backstory for this game. Cubs took the first two at Comiskey, and the White Sox took game one at Wrigley. And so game two comes around, and the Sox go up 3-0, head to the bottom of the eighth. Nick Madrigal hits his second home run of the year, former White Sox who we traded to the Cubs.
I loved that trade.
Uh, Worked out good tonight. Didn't have Kimbrel to save it either.
Yeah,
And,
Gabriel probably would have fucked it up anyways.
you know, and so I'm sitting in the grounds crew clubhouse. Everyone around is rooting for the Cubs, of course. Elvis Andrus at the bottom of the top of the ninth, 2 outs, tries to stretch a single into a double, gets tagged out. I go, he's trying to send us home early, as a joke. Shared a laugh. And then ninth inning rolls around. First and second, nobody out. And like I saw Christopher Morel walk to the plate, and I saw it happen in my head. Before I even stepped up to the plate, I pictured what was going to happen, and he just connected on one.
Dude, I love Christopher Morel. I was at a game. What was it now? Like 2 weeks ago ish. They're playing the Reds. The second game that they like blew them out, whatever it was, like 20 something to
Yeah, I was
eight.
working that game. Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was Morel's second at bat. I turned to my girlfriend, and it was like the second pitch, and I was like, he's about to hit a dinger. And then
Yeah.
5 seconds later, he just pimped a ball. And I was like,
Yes.
my God. You could just tell sometimes when he's about to hit it. You're just like, yeah, he's going to get one.
I mean, every time he swings, he's swinging for the fences. Like he's the
Oh, yeah.
scariest guy to have up. Like
You
always.
don't want him in that situation, if you're the Sox at least.
Oh yeah. Um, but yeah, so right after the game, I got to walk out onto the field, which was like kind of like a nightmare, honestly, as a White Sox fan. Like I'm watching, and like Christopher Morel went insane too. I'm so sad. That's the first walk off home run of the year, and it had to be against my White Sox. It had to be against us.
couldn't even celebrate.
Yeah, everyone else was walking out on the field celebrating, and I was the last person out, just like looking around, just being like, I can't believe that just happened. Because the thing is like I knew the Cubs needed this win for like their playoff race. The Reds won tonight. They're kind of in a battle with them at the moment, and so I kept saying like, oh, like if the Cubs win both these games, or if the Cubs take tonight or yesterday, like I'm fine with that, just because I know the Cubs need the wins. But yeah, I was not prepared for a walk off home run to beat the White Sox, which was heartbreaking. And then like having like everyone around you just going nuts. I took a video of myself in the crowd, just like I was starstruck, but at first, yeah, I was a little down, a little upset, but I don't want to think that way anymore. So I'm going to tell myself this was my favorite loss I've ever experienced. Like,
That's a good way of twisting it. It was
yeah,
a really good loss.
it was a great loss. Like, the Cubs needed the win, okay? And if the Cubs make the playoffs, that means I get to work playoff baseball, which I've never
And you
been
get
to.
more money.
I've had more money. I've never played a game. I've never played a game of baseball, or I've never been to a playoff game in any sport. So this would be my first. Like, this would be my first playoff experiences. So like, I do want the Cubs to win, and I was like really hoping that they um, were gonna like take one in this series, because I knew if the Sox won it, it would just hurt me more. Honestly, like I'd rather see the Cubs make the playoffs, but the Sox got their win yesterday, so I'm gonna take that. I'll
They
be
got one.
satisfied with that. 3-1, that's fine. We didn't get swept. You don't want to get swept. We lost two at home. That's never good. But atmosphere was incredible tonight. Um, you know, Packed house, 40,000 people in attendance. Um, so yeah, shout out Chicago. You know,
Great fans.
best sports
Fantastic
city,
fans.
best sports city in the world, hands down. I
Easy.
experienced it firsthand. I also experienced it firsthand when I went to the Bears game on Saturday.
That must have been electric.
That was awesome. I didn't really have my hopes that high for a preseason game, but I'll tell you what, it delivered.
I
Like,
was pissed because I was planning on watching that game, but I had to work the Bud Billiken parade that morning. The Blackhawks, we were walking with one of our community partners,
oh yeah,
and we were supposed to be done by noon. So I was like, oh, perfect. Drive home. I'll set it up on my phone. I'll watch it as I'm driving. I'll watch the rest as soon as I get home. But the
don't do
parade
that.
was 2 hours late, and I didn't even get walking until like almost 1 o'clock. Missed the whole game. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I checked the stats, and Fields was what 3 for 3 for like 139. I was like,
129
at
yards.
least, at least he played good.
Yeah. So that was awesome. Got to see the Bears defense. The biggest question going in this year was our defensive line, and we got 8 sacks. So that was good to see. Very hopeful to see as a Bears fan. Fields looked great. I know he only threw 3 passes, but 2 of them were touchdowns. The DJ Moore touchdown was incredible. I was so happy to see that. Um, but yeah, no, I'm very excited to see what the Bears are going to do this year. Like,
Yeah, I have a bad gut feeling just being a Bears fan, getting my hopes too high and jumping the gun a little bit.
yeah,
But Fields is the guy. I'm just going to start saying it now. I've been saying it, but I'm locking it in. Fields is the guy. He's
yeah.
throwing for
Now that
4,000
we got a
yards this year.
platform, now that we got a platform, we'll call it future MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Justin Fields.
100%. You heard it
That
here first.
Other news: some running backs finally got signed in the NFL. Zeke went to the Patriots. Um, I think that's a good fit for him. I feel like if they kind of just do like a system, kind of how the Cowboys used him, and like Tony Pollard, but use Ramondre because Ramondre is a dog out of the backfield. He can catch 8 passes a game if you really need him to, and
Yeah.
kind of just use Zeke as like a 3 down guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the fit a lot. I think Zeke will help out that running backfield. I think that dual running game, as you're talking about, is going to help Mac Jones a lot. Um, on top of also getting Juju Smith-Schuster, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Pats play a little bit better than people expect this year. But I am disappointed to see Zach go to the or not Zach, sorry, Zeke go to the Pats. As a Buckeye fan, two teams besides the Packers that I hate in the NFL are the Patriots and the Cowboys, and unfortunately, he has to go to both of them. He couldn't pick a team that I could root for, so unfortunately, I still got to root against Zeke, which pains me to do. But I'm glad he got signed because he was waiting for a bit.
Yeah, I didn't really know if he was going to get signed. I feel like I don't. I mean, I guess he did get paid from the Cowboys already, so not too bad. But yeah, I was kind of worried. I feel like he was a guy that could definitely like hold out for money. But I'm glad he signed somewhere. It'll be fun to see him in a Patriots uniform. I feel like it's
Oh
kind
yeah,
of something that like back when like Brady was there, like Zeke to the Patriots then would have been like
oh,
crazy. You would think that they like
that would be dominant.
that would be dominant, but he's there now, and I'm excited to see what they have in store for him. What do we got next? It's the other running back that got signed.
Why am I totally blanking? To the Jets, Dalvin Cook. Oh my
Dalvin.
god, I was like, could not get the name in my head for a second. Dalvin, he's going to also fit with the Jets though perfectly,
You think?
and it just makes the Jets even scarier.
I don't think this is like a big signing at all for the Jets.
Really?
Yeah, I mean they. I mean, I guess like I don't know. I thought Dalvin. I feel like they're going to go Brees Hall a lot more. And I guess Dalvin's a great backup. I guess you could say that, but like they had great backups already. I think they just drafted that one guy out of Pitt, Israel. His last name is a long one. It's like Ibade. Oh man,
Oh, I think I remember who you're talking about. Or who you're
let,
talking about. I remember seeing the draft pick, and I was like, "That's a hell of a last name."
let me look at this.
But yeah, it's interesting that they got Dalvin with Brees Hall, but I think they're gonna use at least one of them in more of a hybrid role than you've kind of typically seen either of them play. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dalvin play more, um, or get moved outside more into like a wide receiver position, be used a lot in the passing game, and then really relying a lot on Brees Hall in the running game. Um, that seems to be what a lot of teams are going with for running backs so far, or as they're transitioning, really, which we'll get into later as we talk about running backs and contracts and all that. Hint, hint. Um, but I think they're going to be able to use Dalvin pretty creatively, and it gives Rodgers an option and someone to dump it off to, with already a wide receiver core that should be open a lot. So I
Yeah,
like it.
so I just looked up the guy's name, Israel Abanaconda.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's pronounced, but he was a stud at Pitt. Um, they have him and they have Michael Carter as well. I just feel like that's a loaded backfield, very crowded, which is like I guess that's fine. And Zonovan Knight, like good to have depth back there, but like I don't know why you put the money there, like at the running back position, which you like really did not need to fill.
No, I mean Brees Hall did get injured last year, so maybe they're just worried about that.
Yeah, I mean Dalvin's never really been the healthiest guy either, though.
No,
So I guess yeah, I guess that makes sense why I got a lot of depth there. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I also hear the Jets are going after Bakhtiari from the Packers.
They're making a lot of moves.
They're just trying to be the Packers. It sounds like the Packers of the AFC, the New York Jets.
Oh God, that'll be annoying. I don't want to have to hate the Jets. I kind of liked the Jets, but then Aaron Rodgers went there, and I was like,
Feel like
damn
they're
it.
a team you can easily. They're like easy to hate. I don't know why. But I had a roommate. My roommate freshman year. He's from Connecticut, and he told me that like Jets fans are like the shittiest people.
I could imagine. I think that's just New York fans in general.
I don't know. He's like so Connecticut's like in between New York and Boston. Shout out Matt Newton, by the way. DePaul hockey legend. Um, he's in between New York and Boston, so like he kind of gets like just like the in the middle of that rivalry, like all around him, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he says Jets fans are like the worst. But I think he's also kind of just like more of a Boston guy, so it kind of adds up.
That makes sense.
But yeah, Jets, 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 Jets. All right.
That is kind of a stupid chant, I gotta say.
Is it better than
And that is
Bears? No, I'm kidding. It's not even close. Bears to the Super
no
Bowl.
Bears. Bears by 50.
All right. We kind of also had an idea that I just did my fantasy football draft, and I figured that I could tell it to you.
Give us the roster. Break it down for us.
All right. How do you want me to do it? You want me to go by what I drafted, or you want me to just read you my team from like, the top down?
Let's go by what you drafted.
Okay. So I'm in a 10-man league. I've been in this league this is year 5. It is with my best friends from high school. I had the second pick,
Very nice.
and I took Jamar Chase over Christian McCaffrey.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts?
Um, McCaffrey is injury prone, so you do have to worry about that.
Yep.
And I think, especially I guess Cincinnati had a good offensive line last year, but they just added what's his face from the Chiefs. So Burrow's going to have a little bit more time to connect with Chase more. So I don't mind the pick at all, honestly.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting Jamar Chase to have like a wide receiver 1 year this year. I had him on my team last year, and he got hurt, and I really was upset because I wanted to see what a full Jamar Chase year looks like. So in the second round, with the 19th pick, I took Jonathan Taylor. Um, he fe-
I like that as well.
I felt like it was a good value pick because I feel like Taylor, if he didn't have all this like drama going on around him, like I think he's a first round running back, like definitely. And I was happy to see, and I was happy he fell to me. And another guy I had last year as well that I didn't get a full season with, but I would like to see a full season with him. What are your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor there?
Yeah, I think he's going to be good wherever he ends up. Very versatile running back. You
You
can
think he's getting
use him
traded?
in multiple ways. I mean, didn't he request a trade?
Yeah, I I'm not aware if that was confirmed or not.
I thought it was confirmed, but also, I mean, we're getting pretty close to the season for a trade not to have happened yet. So
Fair.
we'll see. And even if he stays with the Colts, they're going to be leaning on him a lot with Anthony Richardson developing and learning the system. So honestly, it may even be better for you if he ends up staying with the Colts.
Okay. Round 3 with the second pick in that round. I don't have to say that anymore, but I took Travis Etienne over Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris, Devontae Smith. So ETN I like a lot because his relationship with Trevor from college, and I think ETN is due for a breakout year this year. And during last season, he was a guy who I had kind of circled on my sheet for this season. A guy that I was going to go and get. And I feel like I did kind of reach on him like a little bit, but I wouldn't have got him if I waited. Definitely wouldn't have got him. And I was just he was a guy I wanted. This guy I got.
It is a little bit of a reach, but I think it's a calculated reach. Honestly, you don't really see um, running backs or just players in general go back to back in fantasy football, leading the league. And Josh Jacobs just had an amazing fantasy
Mm-hmm.
year, so I think it's solid choice to skip on Josh Jacobs. Najee Harris is kind of a hard skip. I think he's bound to break out any second, but he is less what's the word I'm trying to think of? Versatile
Okay.
um, than ETN. So that versatility could get ETN some more fantasy points.
Okay. Then I wanted to get my wide receiver too, so I reached for another guy, and I just watched him the day before. I drafted DJ Moore.
Love it. Absolutely love it. He's going to go off this season.
I didn't see a better wide receiver two on the board, but Patrick Mahomes was on the board there. All off season in this league, I've been kind of gearing up to take Lamar in the 5th round, which I did. But I passed on Mahomes. He ended up going next pick. So I just the guy who was picking at the turn in between my two picks, I felt like he's kind of a wild card, and I thought he might have jumped for DJ Moore. And I didn't see a wide receiver two on the board that I really like better. Like the wide receivers I went after were D Hop, Deontay Johnson, and Mike Williams. And I'm all in on the Bears this year.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I took them in the 4th round because I
Is
feel like
everybody in the league, are they all Bears guys?
we got a
Or like
Viking, we got a Bears, Vikings, Giants, Bears, Colts, or Chargers.
that makes sense to steal DJ Moore while you can then, because
Yeah,
obviously the majority of your league is going to be probably leaning towards Bears players, and he's one you want to pick up.
but yeah, Lamar's always been a guy I wanted in fantasy, and this year I went for him and I grabbed him 5th round and passed on Mahomes, which I might come to regret, especially if Lamar can't stay healthy. But Lamar was my guy, DJ Moore is my guy, so I'm riding with it.
If Lamar can stay healthy, though, he does have OBJ this year, who also needs to stay healthy. But if those two can both stay healthy throughout a full season, they might put up some points.
Yeah. Then I took Christian Watson in round 6. Uh,
He's still on
he's still
the
a great.
Packers, right?
Yeah. 2nd year. I had him last year. Another guy that I'm gonna have back-to-back years, but he was a guy that like came through for me a lot last year, and I think he's got the tools to be a good wide receiver. So I went and grabbed him.
I like him as a wide receiver, but I don't like Jordan Love, which
Okay.
is why I'm iffy on the pick. But I do like him as a wide receiver.
Round 7, I took Isaiah Pacheco.
Oh, great pick.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Super Bowl bias definitely, but just like watching him last year, I thought if this is a guy who's like on the field, like he's gonna get yards, like just puts his head down and goes, and he's got acceleration that like you need as a running back. So I went and grabbed him 7th round. I thought that was a good pick.
Yeah, I love that pick. Great
Round,
player.
Yeah, round 8, I go Brandon Cooks. Kind of just been Mr. Reliable throughout his whole career. He's with Dallas now. I'm expecting him to be wide receiver 2 on the other side of CD Lamb. So I feel like he's kind of due for another just like solid season.
Yeah, Mr. Reliable too is something that Dak needs with how many interceptions he throws. So hopefully those two can pair well together and get you some points.
Yeah. Then round 9, I got J.K. Dobbins.
Oh yeah, you know I love that pick.
So these last, yeah, these last two, and these guys, Brandon Cooks and J.K. Dobbins, coming off my bench too.
Yeah, I mean to quote Gus Johnson, "JK all day, baby." So
J.K. all
you're
day.
not going to regret that.
Yeah, as I said, I'm relying. I got Lamar, I got J.K. Dobbins. I'm relying on the Ravens this year because in the next round, I took their rookie wide receiver out of Boston
Ooh,
College, Zay Flowers. Um, so backstory behind this pick, I was gonna draft Quentin Johnston. I had literally like my cursor over his name, and I was just waiting for the guy ahead of me to draft, and he drafted Quentin Johnston. So I was like, "You want to take a fucking rookie wide receiver? So will I." And I grabbed Zay Flowers. Without
honestly, I like Zay Flowers a little bit better than Johnson, anyways. At least readiness right now. Long term, maybe different story. We'll see how it goes, but I think Zay's a little bit more ready for the NFL right now.
and then my league, we don't do a tight end in this league. We have a flex spot where you can play a tight end if you want. But I got George Kittle there, like in the
Great.
11th round. Like he was just sitting on the board for like 3 rounds, and I was like, all right, I got a spot on my bench for George Kittle. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
another,
obviously.
yeah, um, yeah. It's kind of all for that. I mean, I don't really need to go over the rest. Those are kind of just like the main picks. So yeah, would you give my
Great
team on a
picks.
scale of 1 to 10?
1 to 10. Um, I give him a 7.5. I think we got a lot of potential. I think by the end of the year, you could be closer to a 10. But you're riding on a few things to go right. So if everything goes right, or at least if most things go right, I think I could see you making a deep playoff run this year.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also definitely prone to make a couple trades. So
Okay.
definitely
Love
won't.
to keep
Definitely.
us updated along the way.
Oh yeah, I got you guys. Yeah, I agree. I think what you said is kind of spot on. I got a team with like a lot of potential. Um, it's not it like doesn't it's not the most like star power I'd say, but like we got some names on here. I'm happy with how it looks. I won this league the first 3 years. I won it back to back to back. Last year dealt with some injuries, made a run for the playoffs, ended up getting bounced first round. But it's get back season this year, and I'm coming. I'm coming for heads. I switched up my drafting style a little bit this year, and yeah, I think the team is looking. I think this might be one of the stronger teams I've ever really drafted in this league too.
Making adjustments.
Yeah, you got to. I
Love to
mean,
see it.
well, getting bounced for last, getting bounced first round last year was real tough. That was a
Yeah,
tough.
that can't feel good.
Yeah, I mean, once you've won it 3 years in a row, there's only like one taste you really want. But yeah, uh, we're getting back on top,
I
dude.
could say it.
And the reason we drafted so early, before anyone says anything, because I feel like I've been getting some criticism for how early we drafted. My friends were going back to school, so we draft in person every year, so we had to do it in person. So that's why we draft early.
That's fair. I feel like drafting in person just makes it way more fun, anyways.
Oh yeah, it's a great time. You just get to tell someone you fucking hate their pick to their face. It's awesome.
Lots of shit talking going on.
Definitely.
Lots of beer drinking going on.
Uh,
But
what do you got a team you want to share or?
sure, I'll go down the roster list. I play in a dynasty league, so I didn't do any draft this year. Obviously, well, we had the rookie draft, so I can point out the rookies that I got. But I'll just start with QB. I got my man Justin Fields,
No.
prone for a hell of a season this year. Uh, Going down running backs, I got Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker, and then on my bench, Rashad Penny and Isaiah Spiller. Two solid backups. I've been hearing a lot about Rashad Penny maybe having a good year this year.
With the
I
Seahawks? Or where's he at? Philly?
Philadelphia. So I don't know. Maybe I get kind of lucky with that one. We'll see.
I got Swift.
Backup. They do have Swift. That's why I'm kind of confused why a lot of people are like, "Oh, Rashad Penny's like a sleeper this year for fantasy." I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean maybe
Uh,
because Swift. I guess they're both kind of reliable out of the backfield, but
yeah, we'll see. I'm not expecting Rashad Penny to be very good, but who knows? Maybe the experts will come out with that. My backup quarterbacks right now are Kirk Cousins, and I took a little bit of a reach and got Stetson Bennett after the draft was over. I picked him up at UFA, um, but I was like, well, why not? I had an extra spot open. He was looking good in offseason practices so far, so I was like, you know what? If Fields gets injured and Cousins isn't playing great, who knows? Bennett might pull it off. So got him.
I don't know. He's getting
Uh,
old. I don't know how long
he,
those knees can hold up.
his back's going to be achy breaky by the end of the season. But wide receivers, I got T Higgins, Keenan Allen, traded for Kadarius Toney mid draft. See who's on my bench
Okay,
here.
trades.
I'm took a risk. I traded a lot for Kadarius Toney, but I think he's going to be really good this year, and especially since Justin Ross just went down with an injury, so they might be relying on him a lot. And then I got Adam Thielen and Watkins and Hardman on my bench, so might be switching it around a lot. We'll see how they start playing at the beginning of the season, but hopefully Tony ends up playing up to my expectations. I forgot to mention I also got Joe Mixon at running back,
Okay.
solid three guy. Tight ends, I got Cole Kmet and Noah Fant, as well as I picked up Darnell Washington in the draft.
Big
Which
O.
big O. I'm hoping Darnell Washington, as the season goes on, gets a little bit more reps in games.
Yeah.
I know they got Fryermuth above him, but I like Darnell Washington a lot. I think he's a really good tight end. He's got a lot of versatility. So
Good
we'll
dynasty
see.
pick. I got him in my dynasty too.
Really?
Drafted him in the final round of my dynasty draft. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Just draft him in the final round.
Figured I'd stash him, maybe trade him.
I think he's going to be a really good tight end, honestly. He was a little overshadowed by Bowers, but he was almost a second Brock Bowers, to be honest.
Yeah, he's just like it seems like he might be too big for the position. I don't know.
He moves well, though, for being that huge, and he blocks like a monster. So, which that's not going to get you points, but it'll maybe hopefully it'll get him a starting position.
Get him some reps.
Yeah. Defense, I got the Bears, hopefully for a breakout season, and then backing up, I got the Dolphins. And last but not least, of course, kicker, I got Matt Prater. Maybe he'll give me 3 or 4 points here or there. We'll see. But same kind of thing. I think I got a lot of potential with this team. There's definitely a lot of risk, but if they all work out, I think I could be scoring a lot of points.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound like a team I would draft personally, but I do like it.
We
I think,
do. I should say we do have 12 people in this league,
yeah.
so
Okay.
it's a little. The depth is a little bit slimmer than other leagues.
I think you need to get some receivers.
Hey, Kadarius Toney's about to go off. Trust me. Trust.
I mean, you said you have Keenan Allen, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Keenan's kind of like he's on his way out. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
I
was
think
considering trading him, but I was like, I'm going to give him one more year. I do have T. Higgins as well. I'm holding on to him. Hopefully, he maybe turns into a wide receiver one somewhere.
oh no, he just got extended by the Bengals.
He did?
Yeah,
Oh shit! I thought they still had to sign him.
no, I think they extended him. I still think T Higgins is a good guy. Yeah, but
Yeah,
you said you have Henry too.
yeah. Henry and Kenneth Walker and Joe Mixon are all in the starting lineup.
Okay, who's your
Decent
rookies?
running back room.
Who's your rookies that you drafted this year?
It was Darnell Washington, and I think I ended up trading my other picks for Kadarius Toney, and then I picked up Stetson Bennett as a undrafted free agent.
Okay, I got you. Sounds good. Yeah, I think you compete.
We'll see. Relying on Kadarius Toney and Justin Fields to have some big seasons. So
Yeah, I
we'll
mean, I'm
see.
expecting Fields to win MVP. So
Oh yeah, I'm expecting Fields to run for like 5 billion yards and throw for maybe 5.1 billion yards. So
high expectations for Fields this year. But pray to the Buckus and the Ditka and to Jesus Christ, our Savior. Justin Fields stays healthy.
amen.
Um, but yeah, um, anything else you'd like to add on that topic? Or are you ready to get into this Q&A?
I think I'm ready to get into the Q&A. We got some really good questions from you guys.
Yeah. Thank you for anyone who gave us a question. Um, we're gonna get to most of them, definitely for sure.
Oh yeah.
I had this idea this morning, and I was really excited to do it. Actually, once I thought about it, because I was struggling to think of topics for this week, and I was like, you know what? Let's get some fans involved.
Why not?
Most it is a small. I do know like everyone who left us a comment, but it's all right. We'll get into
That's where you got to start though.
it. The first question we have is who is the most attractive player in all of football, and who is the ugliest? You want to answer this first, Kev?
I'll give my picks first. So I'll start with ugliest. I'm going with Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff kind of looks like a football himself, just like a blonde football. So I'm going with Jared Goff as the ugliest.
Wow.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, most attractive, I got to go with Joe Burrow. Joe Burr is just he's too good.
He's a beautiful man. Um, yeah, that question was given to us by at Gray Hendricks. So shout out
Great
Gray,
question.
one of my
Thank you,
coworkers.
Gray Hendricks.
This is a great question, and I'll start with the ugliest. Aaron Rodgers. Just never liked him. I think he's so ugly. Um, I think
I
he
might
should.
change my pick, honestly. I forgot about Aaron Rodgers, but
Yeah,
I'll stick with Goff for now.
he's so ugly. Um, I don't even want to talk about him anymore. I just want to
Yeah,
get his
let's
face out of my
just move
brain.
on. Move on from
Um,
that guy.
most attractive player in all of football. I'm going to go with Justin Fields. Um, when I see him, I kind of just see like a gold light kind of shining around him. Um, he's my trophy.
You see the halo right above.
Yeah. There's not like really a player I think about more than Justin Fields. So,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
most attractive player in all of football, Justin Fields.
great personality too. Just a very down to earth guy. You gotta love it.
Amazing guy. If
Great head
Justin,
on his shoulders.
if he asked me to like cover up a crime for him, I totally would.
100%.
Yeah, I would go to jail for
Although
it.
he wouldn't commit any crime. I don't
Oh
think he
no,
could hurt a
no,
fly.
no, definitely not. He's a fantastic human being. Um, probably deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, along with an MVP this year. Our
First
next
person to win both.
first person to win both. Yep. Um, our next question comes from our good friend and a future producer of the podcast, potentially, Joe Fisher. Joe, unfortunately, is not with us tonight because he is too drunk to be here. As we were talking about that Cubs game earlier, Joe, big Cubs fan, and you can give him a follow on Twitter at Joe LONE17. His question was how will Kansas, okay, I have to learn how to phrase this. How Kansas $300 million stadium renovations will get them to the CFP. So, how is Kansas going to the college football playoff?
You want me to start off with this one?
Go for it.
It's a great question, honestly, from Joe. He's got to work on his grammar, obviously, a little bit, but I think it's a stepping stone. It looks like Kansas is just playing catch up right now. If you look back at the history of college football and ever wonder why the moment we're at right now, it's very top heavy. You kind of see the same teams in the conversation at the end of the year, year in and year out. It's because there was an arms race, really. Look back at the financials at mid 2000s, late 2000s, going into 2010s. There was an arms race going on. Some teams decided to opt out of it and stick to more of a tradition, blue blood, um, name based to get recruits. Other teams, namely Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson, were really putting a lot of money into the program, among others. And some teams ended up falling off. And I think you're seeing a lot of the repercussions of that. So a lot of teams are playing catch up as far as money goes right now. There's a ton of money going into college football and college athletics in general. So I don't think the renovations aren't going to directly get them to the college football playoff, but it's a step number one. Help with recruiting a little bit, maybe help the record a little bit, then splash with a big coach, and you never know what happens from there. If you can get to the top of the Big 12, and then you never know, 5 to 10 years from now, you could see Kansas making a run at the college football playoff.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen, Kansas just released their new stadium plans. Which did you see it, Kevin?
I did not.
You haven't seen it yet. They have
No.
very weird lights.
Really?
Like, yeah, it looks like almost like a soccer stadium in England, but the lights aren't like kind of like how they're like the squares of lights.
Yeah.
They're kind of these just like vertical posts that like just like hang out of the stadium like all around. It's an interesting concept which thought was kind of cool to see because like it was different and like but it looked kind of weird personally I thought. But yeah, you put the money into a nice stadium, recruits go, they want to maybe go there a little bit more. I think Kansas football program is definitely on its way up. Last year, Jalen Daniels was an absolute stud. Was
Yeah.
a Heisman runner at the beginning of the season, which was really cool to see. They did kind of fall apart halfway through, but they still made a bowl game, which they played a pretty tough Arkansas team and took them to OT, and then ran the worst play of all time with their backup quarterback Jake Bean. Do you remember that play?
I don't remember what the play was, but I remember watching it and just being like, well, I liked Kansas, but that was just stupid.
So in double overtime of college football, you start with the ball. It's 2 point conversions, back and forth. So Arkansas scored their 2 point conversion. Kansas gets the ball and they run a double reverse, give it to their backup quarterback, and he throws an absolute duck. Throws an absolute duck out of the back of the end zone. Now, Jalen Daniels, their normal quarterback, he got hurt last year, and Bean came in and then like lost all those games. So I don't know why they put the ball in his hands, but I'll stop ranting about that for now.
Yeah, I don't know either. But
But I think a big perk for them is that Oklahoma and Texas are on their way out of the Big 12. It
someone's got to
does,
step up to be the big dog.
yeah. So the Big 12, it's who's going to run the new Big 12. The Pac teams coming in, they're hungry. Got some AAC teams that are moving up to Power 4 now. So, yeah, that's how they get to the college football playoff. You run your conference and win the conference championship, and, yeah, you sneak in like TCU did.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Great question.
Our next question comes from a great friend of mine, Nick Bulgarelli. If you want to give him a follow, it's Twitter it's at Nick Bulgarelli. Nick gave us a lot of questions to kind of go through. So his first question is the least important position in football.
You could take this one first.
Okay, I was not ready to go first. I will not lie.
I could go first if you want, if you would like.
Okay,
I'll take it.
got
It's important to mention he did say besides special teams. So we're just talking about offense and defense here.
I
And I'm
didn't.
going to go with fullback.
Okay,
I don't think you don't really see a whole lot of fullbacks anymore. I think fullback tight ends are really turning into the hybrid fullback tight end, somewhat wide receiver ish. So I'm going with fullback.
okay. I'm just gonna agree with everyone and say running back. Sorry, running backs. I know you're getting enough hate, but I
Poor
had
running backs.
I had to do it. I had to say it.
That
Uh,
makes sense, though.
yeah, there's a reason they're not getting paid.
Yeah.
So I'll just go with that answer. Um, Next question is a way too early top 5 picks in the 2024 NFL draft. Well, first two, I think we can agree. Caleb Williams and then Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, that's a gimme, really. I have both of them on the list.
And then I'm kind of thinking another quarterback or two. Definitely could go top 5. So I'm gonna say Drake May, third overall.
All right. I I was hesitant to put Drake May on there. I was thinking about him for number 5, but I just couldn't see two quarterbacks going in the top 5. So number 3, I actually got Jared Verse. I think he's going to have a breakout season and play really well. Um, and I could definitely see the Bears end up drafting him if they end up with a pick that high. If Carolina plays really bad, so I'm going with Jared Verse for number 3.
Okay. Uh, Number 4, I have Jared Verse. I think he's set up for a good year here with Florida State. I think he's got all the tools. I think he would have been a first rounder last year, and I think just another year in college football is only going to help him. So yeah, I
Yeah.
got Verse.
So both agree Jared Verse is top 5. I got number 4. I guess this is a rough estimate for 1 through 5. Um, but I got Olu Fashanu, I think is how you say his name, out of Penn
Yeah,
State, the tackle. Um,
I got
you're
him
seeing
5.
you're seeing tackles go
5.
higher than, or maybe higher than previous years and recent years. And Olu Fashanu is a really good tackle out of Penn State. Um, so whoever's looking to protect their quarterback is definitely going to get him.
Yeah, I agree. I have him going. I have him going 5. Great tackle prospect coming in. Um, there's usually one every year, and I think this is going to be definitely the guy this year. He'll be protecting Penn State well.
My last pick at number 5, a bit of a reach. I got Brock Bowers.
Okay.
It was hard. I was in between him and Drake May for his five, as I just said. Um, but I think Bowers is at least just special enough to kind of break the barrier for a tight end being picked really high because he can do literally anything you want him to do. So
Another
I could
guy.
see Brock Bowers going like top 10 in this past draft, let alone this upcoming one.
I'm gonna give you guys another pick there. Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, top five.
Quinn Ewers, interesting. That is a very interesting pick.
Another question we got is most overrated player this year.
I know you had some player in mind like right away,
Yeah.
so you can go
Uh,
ahead. I'm interested to hear who this is.
Joe Milton from Tennessee. Um, not not sold on him. I did like what I saw in his bowl game last year, but I don't know. I just think that I don't think he's. I think he's getting a lot of hype right now, and people are kind of hyping him up. How like Anthony Richardson saw a lot of hype last year, but like Anthony Richardson still like was like led like a mediocre football team. I think Tennessee's better than that, but yeah, Joe Milton, most overrated player.
That's a good pick, honestly. You're making me reconsider my pick here, but for my most overrated player in college football, I got KJ Jefferson out of Arkansas. He's another player very hyped right now. He had a solid season last year, but dealt with an injury. And I think that's what's kind of causing a lot of hype is the solid season with the injury. There's a lot of questions. And also with kind of a weaker quarterback SEC this year. People need someone to talk about in the SEC as far as quarterbacks go. So they might be reaching a little bit with KJ Jefferson. He definitely has um, the athleticism and the traits, but we'll see if he has the arm talent or the knowledge to go out there and compete in the SEC.
I completely disagree with you. I think he's one of the most underrated players in college football.
I
It
had
kind
a
of
feeling you were going to say that.
throws me that you said that.
I don't know. I
I
just feel
disagree.
like he's another one of those quarterbacks that like he has a lot of potential, but it's the same way I feel about Richardson and going into this draft. Like I would never have drafted Richardson that high. Like he has everything I guess you need traits wise to be really good, but is he going to be able to pull it all together? I don't know.
I don't. I think KJ is a great quarterback, and I think when he's healthy, Arkansas can compete with almost anyone. And I think there's no way that he has a worse season than last year. Last year, I think Arkansas was like 6-6, and then won their bowl game. So they went 7-6 last year. He was hurt. They lost a couple games. I think no way he doesn't improve this year.
I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't think he deserves the hype he's getting, which is why I put him at overrated. Like I think he's going to have another solid season. But I mean, even some people I've heard talking about him being part of like the Heisman talk, and I'm like, no, I don't think he should be a part of the Heisman talk at all.
Okay.
Maybe
That's,
dark horse, but it's a reach.
I think he's going to surprise you. Another question from my good buddy Nick Bulgarelli. He asked, "What is the best college football player slash team of all time?" So, as a recent, I mean, I've always been a fan of college football, but I didn't really start getting into it, like studying it till a couple years back. So, my like the best team that I've ever seen, and the team that I'm definitely going to argue all the time, is the 2019 LSU Tigers with Joe Burrow at quarterback, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde out of the backfield. Whole team basically got drafted the NFL. Like it was I think I knew. I think that week 2 when they beat Texas in Texas, I think I knew they were winning the national championship from that moment. Um, Joe Burrow was, I could say he was the best college football player that I've ever seen. I think like I can't say that because he only started 2 years in college football that he's the best player of all time. But like an individual season, I think his definitely needs to be brought up. Like I was so sure that when the Bengals drafted Joe Burrow that they were going to win a Super Bowl. Not the first year, but I think like the Bengals are definitely like their Super Bowl windows open until Joe Burrow retires.
Oh yeah, I could see them winning it anytime soon.
But best college football player of all time? It's a real tough question. It's a big game with a lot of history. I'm going to go with Michigan legend Desmond Howard.
Interesting. That's a solid pick. One that I feel like people don't think about a whole lot.
Yeah,
Um, but Desmond Howard was really good. I don't like a whole lot of Michigan people in general,
yeah.
um, as people know, but I do like Desmond Howard. Honestly, I'm a big fan of Desmond Howard. He's a fun guy. Um, I love him on College Game Day. So much fun. Um, my best college football player of all time, though, I have to go with Cam Newton. Cam was insane at Auburn. He was surrounded by a team that was not that great at all. If you look back at it, I'm probably going to get this statistic slightly wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's only like two people in that on that Auburn team that he won the national championship with that had either a single pass, reception, or run in the NFL, and one of them was Cam Newton. Um, so, I mean, just given what he was given, Cam did so much, and that's why I'm putting him on top for best college football player of all time, and best college team of all time is I think it was the 2002 University of Miami team that just went off and had an amazing defense that nobody could gain a half of a yard on. So I'm going with the 2002 Miami Hurricanes as my top team.
Speaking of a player on that 2002 Miami Hurricane team, this question comes from a friend of mine at Griffin Lyons. Lyons is spelled Lyons 79. He asks, RG3 never gets injured or Sean Taylor never gets shot. For me personally, this question is quite easy. Sean Taylor never gets shot. Um, I feel like a man's life is definitely more important than RG3's knee. And RG3, if RG3 hadn't got injured, then we would never see his amazing analysis now covering sports. So, you know, I'm looking at the positive side and much rather would see Sean Taylor still with us today and have him have his full career.
Yeah, from a moral standpoint, obviously Sean Taylor, because as you said, a knee injury versus getting shot, like that's completely different. You never want to see anyone get shot. Like a knee injury isn't going to kill you, um, and just getting shot is way scarier. But if we're talking about just in general, like who would you rather see not or like rather not get injured if you were taking like the severity off the table here, I would probably go with RG3 because I think he had a hell of a career ahead of him. So if you're just talking about who would you rather not see get injured, then I'm going with RG3. But obviously, if we're taking into account the injury itself, um, Peyton for sure.
Well, Sean Taylor died.
Taylor.
Yeah. Next
Am I
question.
think I'm gonna think of the wrong person maybe.
The safety for the Commanders technically now. Well, he doesn't play for them anymore. He's dead.
That was
Sean Taylor.
Sean Taylor. I'm
He
confusing it with
played,
somebody else. I'm
indeed,
probably
he
thinking
played on
about.
that 2002 Miami defense that you just said was the best team of all time.
Who am I thinking about that? They also played for the Redskins though, because remember he
Brian
like
Robinson Jr.
the one that then came out later to like Many Men.
Yeah, the guy last year.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was confusing it with him for some reason.
Oh no,
But
Sean
yeah,
Taylor.
no,
You know, have you seen that video of the Pro Bowl when the punter gets like absolutely smashed?
I don't think so. I may have, but
Well, in
maybe
the
in the
Pro
vault
Bowl, Sean
somewhere.
Taylor like absolutely laid out a punter. It's one of the best hits.
I'm looking that video up as soon as we get off of this pod.
Next question is coach who is bound for a huge promotion. Now this answer is quite easy in my opinion.
I
Brian
agree,
Hartline from
100%.
Ohio State. Um, just got promoted to offensive coordinator this year. I'm expecting him to, and he's offensive play caller, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
offensive coordinator and caller now.
yeah. Um, I'm curious to see kind of what his route's going to be because he's definitely in line for a head coaching job. If he like can perform as well as we hope him to be, but I think like he's kind of like going to be like one of the next coaches in college football. I feel like. I mean, you see how these Ohio State wide receivers are doing in the NFL.
Yeah, it's gonna be sad to see him go. I really wish he wasn't the next guy. Um, but there's a reason why it was a pretty easy answer for this one. He's produced.
Oh, yeah. I mean, every receiver came out of there has been an absolute stud, and it just seems like Buka and Harrison are probably going to go in the first round next year easily. Henderson is probably going to get drafted. I mean, I expect Ohio State's offense like to not even like it won't skip a beat. It's going to be better.
Oh yeah.
Let's see this next question here. This next question also comes from Griffin Lyons. He asks, "How many 3-year-olds could Jason Kelsey take out before he dies? Stamina is irrelevant." Um,
Honestly, it's a hard question.
I think infinite. I mean,
Infinite. If
how like are these 3-year-olds just running at him, or are they getting like shot at him out of a cannon?
yeah, what's the scenario here? I assume like he's just standing and he's
Yeah,
surrounded by infinite 3-year-olds who are just running at him.
but stamina is irrelevant also.
Yes.
So
I feel like he could easily get through like 75 to 100.
no problem. Have you
No
seen a
problem.
3-year-old?
A what?
A 3-year-old. They're like
Oh
really.
yeah, I mean they're like not even they're barely up to like my knee.
Yeah, I mean,
It might be infinite for this one.
yeah, I mean, if stamina is irrelevant, like you just don't get tired beating up 3-year-olds. Like I don't like. I don't think there's a 3-year-old on this planet I couldn't take. And imagine Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, he would have no problem.
No problem. Infinite. Throw all the 3-year-olds you want at Jason Kelsey. He's eating them. Eat them for breakfast. That's my final answer.
Yeah, I'm going with infinite as well.
This next question comes from at Bob22783034. He's asking, will Bama make a comeback this year be able to live up to the standard, even with Georgia being a 2-time consecutive champion? Well, Bob, um, no.
I would have to. Well, I don't know. It's hard for me because I want to say that they're not going to, but Saban hasn't gone more than 2 years in a row without winning a national championship since a very long time. And the last time Nick Saban was ranked this low in the AP preseason poll, they won a national championship. So
Okay.
those are kind of supplemental, but it's just really hard to say no with Nick Saban still coaching that team.
I mean, I think the main problem is there's no answer at quarterback, which you've never seen at Alabama. Alabama's always, I feel like, had a set quarterback, that
They've
you know is going to be starting.
traditionally haven't had amazing quarterbacks though. Like Bryce Young was probably their first kind of stud quarterback, and before him, they were always just kind of like Mac Jones. He got the ball out in the wide receivers' hands and let them make plays.
I mean, Tua,
Tua is
Jalen,
maybe a different story a little bit, but
Jalen Hurts, no love.
I count Jalen Hurts as an Oklahoma kid.
You can't take away what he did at Alabama, though.
That's true, but I don't know. I think their offense is going to be just fine with a less than stud quarterback. They do have an iffy wide receiver group though, which if they're going to have a mediocre quarterback, they do need those playmakers to get the ball in their hands. So
I mean,
I guess I will go with no because of that.
he's asking, will they live up to the standard? Now, the standard of Alabama is top four competing in the college football playoff every year. If they're not doing that, it's a bad year for Alabama. Like, no, last year, bad year for Bama. I just look at their schedule though, and I think they're gonna lose more than one time, and I think that's gonna be the killer. Like they're they got Texas week 2, they got at Texas A&M. They always struggle versus A&M. They got Tennessee and LSU, another two tough games. At Auburn at the end of the year, like I don't see them winning all these games, and I could very well eat my words this year. As you said, you listed the statistics for what Saban has done. Like he hasn't lost it 3 years in a row ever, right?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they've been top 5 recruiting class for 5+ years straight now too.
Yeah. So they are the standard. Like period. That they are the standard. But if you're expecting me, if I think they're going to make the college football playoff this year, they're going to have to wait and listen until next episode.
Yeah, I think we're both going with a no on this one,
Yeah.
but it's a bitter no for sure.
He had another question from Bob 227-83034 is who has been the most influential / game changing coach since 2000? Now I feel like there is an obvious answer. Nick Saban. Um, I think you can't really argue with that at all. He's won the most national championships out of everyone. I think if you're looking for a program to build off of, it's Bama. I think Saban has one of the most impressive coaching trees also. I think a lot of coaches that come from Bama end up being good coaches elsewhere. I think teams aim to hire Bama coaches for that reason. So I don't really have another answer. Maybe Urban Meyer?
I'm going with Ryan Day. Actually,
Really?
I'm just kidding. No, I was kind of to see what your face was going to look like if I said that. I was. I mean, obviously, I'm going with Nick Saban. I think Chip Kelly is kind of an underrated name in this conversation. Chip Kelly's done a lot for offenses. Um, since 2000 is where that kind of gets iffy. Um, but as you said, Nick Saban obviously is the answer for this one. What he's done culture wise, program wise, achievements wise, recruiting wise, all of it. And then the coaches that he's produced that have went on, Kirby Smart, who is one of the top coaches, if not the top coach in college football right now, is a Nick Saban production. So yeah, got to go with Saban on this one.
Also, just want to take this time to shout out Mike Leach. We
Oh
lost him.
yeah,
We lost him last year, but incredible coach. Definitely,
amazing person
yeah,
beyond just being an amazing offensive mind as well.
definitely put his mark on the game. So most influential coach. I heard nothing but good things about Mike Leach ever, and records don't always mean everything. So we'll give him a little shout out for this one, the Mike Leach
Shout out
Award.
Mike Leach. Look
Yeah,
up videos. He has some amazing
interview.
um,
Yeah.
interviews. Great guy, very funny. Gotta love Mike Leach.
And finally, our last two questions come from a friend of mine, my buddy. Or no, we got three more questions. The last two come from a good buddy of mine, Vaughn. He asked what the best looking Illinois team is this year. Now, there are typically only two Illinois teams that really should compete for this award, Northwestern and Illinois. Those are the two Big Ten Power Five teams in our state. And this year, Illinois looks significantly better.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question for this one. It's
Yeah.
Definitely Illinois. Maybe in previous years Northwestern, but Illinois has been getting a lot better under Brett Bielema.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Illinois, especially with Northwestern, everything going on over there right now, got to go with them.
Yeah, I think Northwestern definitely is going to be taking a bit of a hit here. Um, Coaching change kind of late into the off season as well. Could be tough adjustment, especially with everything going on. It's probably going to feel like all the eyes are on them. And yeah, Illinois had a top tier defense last year, and they did lose some pieces though. Um, but I think they're still in better shape than Northwestern this year, and I feel confident about that answer.
Yeah, easily.
Shout out Northern Illinois, also. And then the next question from Vaughn is the effect of the running back position due to the contract situation going on in the NFL. Kevin, you want to start?
Sure. Um, you kind of heard me talk a little bit about it earlier when we were talking about the Jets. Um, but I think that the way that running backs are used is being changed a lot. You're going to see a lot more of the Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey kind of hybrid running back, wide receiver. Um, does it for all three downs, can hand it to him, can pass it to him. Kind of running backs that are going to be getting these contracts, and then some of the more traditional running backs are going to start to fall off. And then you're really going to see that in college football first, is kind of like with mobile quarterbacks. It took a while for it to transition from college football to the NFL, but you're seeing a lot more mobile quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and you're starting to see a lot more of those hybrid running backs. And in college football, you're going to really see that traditional running back fade away.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think what's best for the running back position is to just not even claim running back. Wide receiver. Wide receiver is where the money's at right now. Wide receivers are getting paid. Running backs are not. So I think what it's going to take is a running back to come out like Bijan, because it looks like Bijan's going to be lining up kind of in the slot this year. Jameer Gibbs, another running back that is uh, very versatile out of the backfield. So I think the receiving aspect of being a running back is really kind of what's going to be the biggest effect. I think, uh, yeah, less traditional runners are going to be coming maybe, but I think college football is kind of set in its ways where we might not see that much of an impact on the game of college football. But I think if you're talking, prospects going to the NFL, I think you definitely are going to have to expect them to be more receiving threats. And I think that's kind of what the effect of that position will be.
Fair.
And our last question comes from my father, who is a huge Tennessee Vols fan. He just wanted a Tennessee record prediction. So that's how we'll finish it off. Week one, they're versus Virginia in a neutral site, actually. Where are they playing at? Nissan. Okay, they're playing at the Titan Stadium.
Hmm.
I think that's an easy week one win.
Yeah, I say they start out 1-0 against Virginia.
Week two, they are at home against Austin, PA.
That's obviously a dub. I really don't see Austin P winning that game.
Week three, they are at Florida in the
Uh,
swamp.
in the swamp. I'm going with 3-0, beating Florida. I think that's obviously their toughest match up to this point, but I don't think Florida is going to be too great this year, even with
Yeah,
it being at the swamp.
I'm not a big fan of Graham Mertz. Um, I think if you're not good in the Big Ten, you're not going to be good in the SEC. When you're, especially like his level of Big Ten play, like it
Oh
seemed
yeah,
like he was due for like a breakout year these past 2 years, and it just seems like he's kind of fallen on his. It just seems like he's just fallen on his face. Week four, they are at home versus UTSA.
another easy dub, 4-0.
Week five, at home versus South Carolina.
This is where I see him getting their first loss. I think it says 4-1. Spencer Rattler is going to be too much for him.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on that one. I think this South Carolina team is going to be due for a big year here, and I think that this is a must-win game for them. And I think they had no trouble with Tennessee last year, and I feel like this game will be definitely closer. But I think South Carolina only improved, and I think Tennessee got worse.
Yeah.
So 4-1. Then they're at home versus Texas A&M.
This is a tough one, but I think I see them bounce back on this one. It might be a really close game. I don't see them blowing Texas A&M out, but I think they move to 5-1 and have a bounce back game in front of the home crowd.
I agree. I think they win this one, which A&M's been getting a little bit more hype this year as well. They're kind of a sleeper. And then after that, it's at Alabama.
That pretty obviously, I think they're. I think you would agree that they're going to lose this one and move to 5-2.
5-2. And then kind of a tough match here at Kentucky, October 28th. Kentucky is a team that has kind of turned their football program around, and they're consistently above 500, playing in bowl games. Good squad around them. Um, got Devin Leary, NC State's quarterback this year. So I feel like they'll just kind of be Kentucky they always are. You think they can pull this one out in Kentucky?
I think it's going to be a close game. A lot of people probably won't be expecting it to be super close, but I see it being a one-score game. But I think Tennessee will end up pulling it off and moving to 6-2.
All right, I'll go with you. 6-2. And then they're at home versus UConn.
7-2.
At Mizzou.
Another game that's probably closer than people expect it to be, but I'm going with 8-2 after that one.
Then they're at home versus Georgia.
I think similar to last year, they're maybe they'll have some playoff hype going into this game with only 2 losses towards the end of the year, but I think Georgia is going to pretty handily beat them.
Well, you can't get in the playoff with 2 losses. I don't know. I kind of personally, I feel like this game depends on what time it's at. If it's a noon game, I think Georgia's going to roll them. If it's a night game, I feel like that Tennessee atmosphere might win it. But I think the safe answer to say is they're going to lose. What's that make their record now?
Is that 7-3?
7-3.
Or no, 8-3?
8-3. And then they're at home versus Vanderbilt for the final week, which I think they win easy.
Yeah.
So
What's
9-3
for the season?
9-3. Oh wait, 9-3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9-3.
Yeah, it's 12
Brett's
games.
dad.
Yeah. So there you go, Matt. Yeah. That's it for today's episode. It's a fun one. I enjoyed doing this Q&A. I'd like to do more. I thought this was kind of a little fun thing to do here with the season coming right around. Got to talk a little bit outside of college football as well early on. Talk some NFL, some baseball. So if you guys like to hear more of that, we could definitely kind of go into that more.
Yeah, let us know how you guys think or what you guys are thinking. Keep sending us questions. We're going to keep considering them. We might throw a few in here or there. Ones we really like, we might do another Q&A episode. So keep sending us questions, suggestions, comments, concerns, anything.
Yeah. All these questions were really pulled off Twitter or X, whatever
we're calling it now.
Whatever we want to call it now. If you would like to interact with us, you would like to give us a follow on Twitter, leave some likes, comments, subscribes. It is at Pylon 2, the number, Pylon Pod. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.
Thank you.